The following is a Candlepin Stars and Strikes rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable programs.
Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
Look at this. Look at
Candlepin Stars and Strikes is sponsored in part by Somerville Lumber. Looks good. Looks good. That's the goal. It's a goal. Candlepin Stars and Strikes is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Burke.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Candlepin Stars and Strikes. 2 full hours here on the Winds. Of course, we'll have Stars and Strikes doubles immediately following the show, and we start a brand new series this week on both programs, Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, this one and one more for the singles, and get our last 2 qualifiers for the Tournament of Champions. They're already starting to talk about that, and some work to be done for one of these 2 bowlers.
It won't be very long now, in fact, before we get into our Tri-State Megabucks Tournaments of Champions on both programs. Let's bring you up to date now and give you our first 2 bowlers in this series. Of course, we'll reveal the other names after our first break. But in this 4-week series, our number 5 seeded bowler and our first challenger today from Plastow, New Hampshire, certainly no stranger to this program, Gary Carrington.
Okay, Gary comes in averaging 133, has a high signal of 195, high triple 480, and the roll-off score at 670.
All right, and Gary, of course, has overall made 16 previous appearances with us here on Stars and Strikes, and he'll be facing a guy who's been making quite a few appearances of his own in the last year or year and a half or so. From Lynn, Massachusetts, Neil Gosselin.
Okay, Neil comes in averaging 125, has a huge high single of 210, 459 for a high triple, 671, 1 pin better than Gary.
And 2 on the warm-up ball.
Yes, yeah, he saves the best for last, I guess.
We've got, of course, prize money on the line, and, of course, all the bowlers interested in working their way up toward that $1,000 first place check. We also have our bonus ball contest at the end of the show. That'll be worth $40, as we haven't had a winner for a couple of weeks. We'll have more to tell you about, too, including the rest of the bowlers on this series. We'll do that right after we take these messages. Don't go away. All right, before we get to the bowling, here's a review of what has already happened this season on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. These are the 4 men who have already qualified for the Tri-State Megabucks Singles Tournament of Champions, which will be coming up in just a few weeks from now. Paul Berger with that whopping 464, our number 1 seed, followed by Peter Flynn, Tom Morgan, Bob Mazur. Those are the 4 guys 1 through 4 right now, with, of course, 2 positions still open. And here are the 5 guys who will compete in this 4-week series on Stars and Strikes. We already told you, Gary Carrington, Neil Gosselin today. The winner gets Brian McKinley next week. Dave Blaine 2 weeks from today in the semifinals. And our number 1 seed waiting for his shot, Bob Whitcomb. So he'll be here 3 weeks from now. Gary Carrington now ready to go as we begin this brand new series on Stars and Strikes. And, well, it's a series, Dan, that will feature... for the most part, familiar names, I think.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Regular viewers of the program. Of course, all the bowlers scrambling now to try and sneak in on one of these last 2 series. The Stars and Strikes doubles new series, of course, begins at 1 o'clock today here on the Winds. Gary Carrington almost on the 2-6.
That was interesting. We're playing that one rather than opposed to the one with a piece of wood in front, but... It's
a 10. And let's take another look at it.
Must have seen that in the... Yeah, he saw that pin in the channel and knew that pin would... The 2 pin would come out if he hit it on the right-hand side, and he very nearly pulled that off. And two bowlers that just missed this ladder series. Wayne Denon was 669. 1 pin kept him off the show, and Tim Lipke at 664. Very close roll-off scores.
Only 20 pins going from 1st to 5th. and then just a few more all the way down to 7th.
Right.
So
Gary goes right through the middle. Spread eagle minus the 10 pin.
give you a little preview of our first week of the new doubles series at 1 o'clock here today on the Winds. It'll be Steve Lavery and Jim Flynn against Bob Ferrara and Alex Pendleton.
And 19 for Gary's opening 2 frames. Now, first look today anyways at Neil Gosselin.
Neil from Lynn, Mass. And a pretty good looking first ball. Look out,
there you
go.
For a minute, I thought he was going to have the 8 and the 9 left. And then it looked like the 8 would fall down. And when it did, it took the 9 pin with it. Right here, look at the 8 and 9, and there's the strike. So we get rid of that warm-up ball at the beginning of the show and comes back with a strike, and let's see.
A little thin on that hit, and here's an unusual leave, the 3, 5, and 8.
Middle part of the rack of the 10 pins. And that close to a spare.
Too much wood. Spoiled the shot. And the 10. And an early 10-pin lead for Neil Gosselin. This match is a rematch from almost a year ago. These two guys met. And Gary looking for the break here, and he'll have a 9-drop. Gary and Neil faced each other back on April the 5th of last year. And it came down to a third game comeback for Neil as he threw an outstanding 158 to record a come-from-behind win, winning by 8 pins.
There's Gary's first mark, spare in the 3rd. Knocks down that 4 pin.
In fact, that match almost a year ago was the last time that either one of these guys has been here in singles competition. They've been in doubles a couple times each since then. What are the odds against that? You go almost a year without appearing, and then you end up facing the same guy again.
3, 6, and 7 left for Gary. Going to try to cut the 3 pin over into the 7. Like this. Ooh, just missed.
After Neil beat Gary Carrington in that match, the following week he was in the series championship match and lost to Glenn LeBlanc. And Glenn wound up advancing to the Tournament of Champions a year ago. Gary Carrington, of course, already in this year's doubles Tournament of Champions. He and Joe Ashline were the first team to qualify last fall. Neil back on the head pin, and this time he doesn't carry the extra pin.
Ball breaks a little bit from right to left, and that time he was dead in the 1-3 pocket. I don't know how the 7 pin didn't go down. Rocked it, but still stands.
And on it for the spare. Matching Gary's spare in the 3rd. By the way, before we go any farther, I've been somewhat remiss in not mentioning this prior to now, but that's why I'm going to make a big deal out of it right now.
This is scary.
As Neil fills the spare with a half Worcester left. But I've been remiss to this point in congratulating my partner on his engagement.
Oh.
And I certainly want to wish Dan and his fiancée Cheryl Young all the best. Both good friends, and that's terrific news. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. How much do I owe you?
No, it's Cheryl that owes me.
Oh, I see. 3-pin advantage for Neil Gosselin through 4 boxes. 49 to 46 for Gary Carrington.
Of course, since you announced your engagement, I haven't even seen Cheryl. You're keeping her tucked away somewhere? Is that what's happening?
Since we went to these Tuesday tapings, you know. After all, she's got to support me, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
6-10. And Gary covers those for the spare, his 2nd mark. And lane 32 has been good to him.
We've talked about this before, but Gary has had a number of appearances here on Stars and Strikes, both in singles and in doubles competitions, and he has suffered a number of very frustrating defeats, although bowling well, with high scores and just very close matches. So,
well, I think sometimes that attributed to Gary himself. People knowing that they're going to have to bowl Gary, they know they're going to have to be sharp. Maybe they just concentrate that much more.
Gary carrying an average right now of 133. That's pretty impressive. That piece of wood judged to be in fair play, and it doesn't matter anyway because Gary goes right around it for the spare, 2 in a row.
Gary always looks like he's businesslike out there in the lanes. Not too much emotion, and just goes about the business. Neil right in the pocket again. Will the 10-pin go? Yep. Left the 7 last time on lane 32. This time the 10-pin.
Of course, you realize now that I've mentioned this about your engagement to Cheryl that your fan mail is going to drop off significantly.
Yeah, I know. Like the one we got here. Spare up in the 5th for Neil Gosselin. Light hit.
Very light on the Brooklyn side, but they're still falling.
And he's going to have a spare leave, really. It's not a great one, but he's got the 3 and the 4 and 7, but he's got a piece of wood behind the 3 and another one just to the left, which looks like it's angled toward the 4 and 7.
Oh, yes. Nice shot by Neil, and he puts up 2 in a row, and he still has a 1-pin lead.
There you go. Very nicely done by Neil. His 4th mark of the match.
Gary Carrington from Plastow, New Hampshire. Working on another mark. Just catches the head pin, and how's that for a leave?
Well, 3, 9, and 7. Couple pieces of wood. Going to give this a ride, hoping everything was going to go from right to left.
Nope.
Oh, rocked it. Just got a piece of the 7, but not enough to knock it over.
Gary and his wife Kathleen have 2 sons, 10-year-old Matthew and 4-year-old Michael. Gary works as a pipe fitter for AT&T in North Andover, Mass. Does a lot of his bowling at the Exeter lanes and also at Pilgrim Lanes down in Haverhill.
Wants that 7-pin to go down. A little extra body English, but to no avail. The 6, the 7. Piece of wood next to and in back of the 6. Also one way out in front of the 7-pin.
Let's see. And again, the 7-pin robs him. It's a $10. 102 through 8. One of our participating sponsors for this series on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, our friends at Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. Right on Route 28 in Salem, New Hampshire. Come to Salem and save. Stop in and say hi to Emmett Horgan and the folks at Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. 6 on the mark for Neil Gosselin, which leaves this match dead even for the moment. And now Gary Carrington has a 1-pin lead. Oh, yes.
There wasn't much doubt about that one. We get a good bird's eye view of that on right behind lane 31, and that ball is just breaking right very nicely back into the 1-3 pocket, and the strike in the 8th.
Second strike for Neil, 5th mark overall. Gary has 3. Good match going here. In the 9th.
Well, Gary has left it to the right, but he's got a makeable spare leave. 1, 2, and 8.
No. Eight box for Gary. 110 with 1 to go. No, there is a nice hit.
Moves the 5-pin a little bit. Nice guide to the right, well as one behind, piece of wood behind the 5. Clear shot at it though. He's right on it.
Spare in the 10th. Mark number 4 for Gary.
Gives him 120 plus this bonus ball.
By the way, we want to apologize for our technical difficulties here on Stars and Strikes 3 Sundays ago on February 7th during our mixed doubles series. Due to the extreme cold weather, we had some technical problems at our transmitter a few weeks ago, and we were unable to bring you the noon edition of Stars and Strikes during our mixed doubles event. The program, by the way, folks have called and asked about if the program was going to be repeated. It actually was aired later that day at 5 o'clock. For those of you who didn't get a chance to see it, unfortunately we won't have a chance to re-air it now during the season, but it is possible that the show will re-air during the summer. But in any event, to bring you up to date, as most of you know by now, I'm sure, in that match, Joe Ashline and Wendy Sandin defeated Larry Valcourt and Debbie Regan by a score of 386 to 375 as they came from behind in the 3rd game to win it.
7 on a strike for Neil, and a 9 box gives him 117, a 7-pin advantage. However, he's opposite of spare 6 this final frame.
This, of course, today, our first match since the mixed doubles series, and boy, what a great series that was. A lot of close matches and some excitement.
Testy 5-pin, a couple pieces of wood out front could cause him some problems. He's got to turn the front piece. However, when he does, it's going to come in contact with a second piece and just may... Oh.
No. And no again.
Just may swing everything to the right and left of the 5-pin. Exactly what happened. Match is tied right now. He needs this one to have a 1-pin advantage.
Yes, just like that. A 10 box and a 1-pin lead for Neil Gosselin after 1 game. 2 more to come. Of course, we have our bonus ball contest coming up at the end of the show, and we'll tell you how to enter and perhaps win some prizes and some cash. We'll do that after these words. Neil Gosselin is right on the head pin for a strike to start game 2.
It's his 3rd strike already in the match. Wow. And he's had some solid 9-pin drops too. Left the 7-pin and the 10-pin. 2 other times could have been strikes.
Back on the head pin again this time. He'll look at the 5, 6, 10.
I'd like to mention 2 young fellows that are avid watchers of Candlepin Stars and Strikes and also the double show. And from Manchester, I was fortunate enough to meet one of these 2 youngsters, the LaFleur twins, Thomas and Nathan from Manchester, New Hampshire. Keep watching, guys. Big fans of mine anyways. I'm not they didn't say much about you, Doug. But I'm sure they watch you too.
I'm just happy to be here riding on your coattails. Gary Carrington. Oh, Gary got a nice break there.
Certainly did. He was looking at the 2-4-7 on the left and the 6-10 on the right. Or was it the 3-6? Anyways, he's left with a 2, 4, and 7, and just too full on the 2-pin.
And it'll be a 9. Talking about the mixed doubles series a while ago. Of course, Gary participated in that a few weeks back. His partner was Karen Valcourt. They lost a match to Karen's brother-in-law, Larry Valcourt, and his partner, Debbie Regan. 3, 6, 7, 10. A cut shot required and almost delivered.
Cut it just to the left of the 7-pin, just to the right of the 7-pin, I should say, and didn't come much closer than that without making it. And it's a 10 box for Gary, 2 open frames, and drops another 9 pins. The lead now 10 pins for Neil Gosselin. Neil
from Lynn, Mass. Does a lot of his bowling down there at the Lucky Strike lanes and also at the Beverly Bowler-Mat. And Neil has a 9 drop.
A lot of good bowlers from the Lynn area.
And a lot of bowling fans, too.
Absolutely.
A number of them regular viewers of our program. I want to say hello to everybody down in the Lynn area as Neil records the spare in the 3rd. That whole North Shore of Boston is a hotbed of candlepin bowling. I know this.
You do.
That's right.
Is that your old stomping grounds?
Absolutely.
All right. 5 and 8 left for Neil, trying to make it 2 marks in a row and 3 out of the first 4 boxes of this second game. He does. Right now, he's not looking back.
He's got 8 marks in the first 14 frames of this match. The winner of this one gets Brian McKinley next week.
Gary's solid 4-pin.
Oh, sliding by. $10 for Gary. How comfortable do you think Paul Berger feels with that 464?
I'd give him $10 for that score. Spread eagle for Gary. Almost cut that one, just missing the 2-pin.
Yeah, Gary seems to be in a mode here where he is just missing all the time.
That's not a good sign.
It's a $7, a 36. Neil Gosselin has added to the lead, and he will add to it further, filling that mark when we return on Stars and Strikes. Don't go away. Neil Gosselin has a spare up in the 4th and a 21-pin lead to this point. Missing the head pin for one of the few times today.
You're right.
In fact, the only other time I can remember that he missed, he also had that exact same half Worcester left.
And that one he didn't mind because oops, comes right back.
Converts the half Worcester for a spare, just like that. That was a strike ball right there.
One little mistake on the first ball, but came right back to correct that. 3 marks in a row and 4 on the first 5 boxes, and this time through the middle.
Well, he's making it tougher on himself. This one's going to be a lot tougher than the half Worcester was.
He may go after the 3-6 with a piece of wood there, sweep everything to the left. That's what he's trying to do.
Ooh.
Now he's going to scramble to get out with an 8 or a 9 box. Could be an opening for Gary.
It'll be a 7. That really negates the effect of the spare. 79 through 6. And an opening indeed.
You can't let your guard down against this fellow, I'll tell you. Off target here, he's got the 1, the 3, 7, and the 8. Piece of wood in front of the 8 pin.
Gary directing traffic a little bit. He wanted the wood to stay where it is, and he's got it. See if he can convert it. Nope, too far right. And that was the shot he wanted. So the difference 27 right now, but Gary is opposite a $7. You could cut that lead maybe in half with a mark, a big fill here.
Not going to be an easy one. The 2, the 5, and the 8. Of course, the problem is the 8 pin in the back, but he's got a piece of wood next, just to the left, which should help keep the 2 pin in play. Oh boy.
Picked it right off the 5.
Talk about just missing. A little bit left, a little bit right, probably would have had that for a spare.
Does pick up 3 pins in count with the $10. So the lead 24. Just past the halfway point. Neil Gosselin. Neil back in the pocket.
Time just a tad light. He didn't carry the 10 pin, which is the one he really wanted to go down. He's got the 2, 4, 5 triangle plus that 10 pin.
$9 for Neil. Neil has 3 children, 18-year-old Brandy, Neil Jr., who's 16, and 12-year-old Sherry.
Full on the head pin this time. The 4, 6, 10. Piece of wood in front of the 610, also in front of the 4 pin. Let's see what he elects to do. He's got to move one or the other. Piece of deadwood.
Oh, yes,
How
it
did that
worked.
come back. Wow. Thought he had to be a little more to the right, but keeps that pin in play somehow. Comes back and knocks down the 2 pin. I should say the 4 pin or the 2. I don't know. It's a spare, anyways,
It was
right?
the 4 pin.
4 pin. Thanks, Doug.
Well, again, Gary was full on the head pin, but he avoids a possible spread eagle or 3 and 2 situation, and instead he has what might be a spare leave if the wood doesn't
You got to watch the 10 pin.
betray him. There he goes, covers it.
High enough on the wood to carry all 3.
Gary's first mark of this second game, 5th overall.
Here's a situation where he only has 66 through 7, but bowling a lot better than that.
A little light, but look out. An 8 drop.
3, 5 left. Wood to the left that he wants to avoid. Wood behind should help. Watch out. Woo. Just caught a piece of it, but not enough to hurt the shot. 2 in a row. Climbs back to within 14 in this string and 15 overall.
Neil working on a mark here. Good match going. First week of a new series here on Stars and Strikes. It's an 8 drop for Neil Gosselin, and not the 8 drop that you would want.
Well, he's got a piece of wood. If he can get the 9 pin clean, should sweep the wood over into the 10 pin. Could cap and have the ball take it, but oh, he's going. Well,
that's another way of playing
also
it.
a way of. He played everything to the left. Just enough to climb the wood up over the wood in the back and clear out the 8, 9, and 10.
And now in the 10th, a little full, a 6 fill. Through 2 games now, Neil has only stepped up there and thrown 2 empty boxes, 2 open frames, 1 time. And that was the last 2 frames of the first game.
And he finishes with another mark.
132 plus a ball.
He has a drawback at some of the fills. You see there 2 and the 4 fills on the spares in the 4th and the 5th.
Also had a 2 fill in the first game. This time a big fill, a 9 and a 141. 2-game total, 268 for Neil Gosselin.
Kind of a quiet 141, wasn't it?
12 marks in 20 boxes. For Neil? Well,
Gary's just got to try to keep pace. Right in there. Right in there, and my goodness, look at this. The 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, no wood. That was on a spare. Couldn't have thrown a ball much better than that.
oh, what a shot! For a shot!
Unbelievable.
Oh, wow! You saw Gary's reaction to it. What a perfectly thrown ball that was.
Needed some help coming off the wall for that 4-pin, but what a shot by Gary Carrington.
Put a little star next to that one. You're keeping score. Unfortunately, another 5 fill. So Neil will have the lead after 2 games. Gary trying to get what he can, and he'll take an 8, a 112, and a 2-game total of 238. Terrific shot in the 9th frame for a spare for Gary Carrington. He trails by 30 after 2. Still 1 game to go, though, and we'll come back to settle it on Stars and Strikes after these words. Third game, and to lead it off, Gary Carrington.
Right through the middle.
Ooh, and again. Talked about the match these two guys had last April. Nice out by Gary, an 8. In that match, it was Gary Carrington who had a lead after 2 games of 26 pins. And Neil came back on him with that big 158 to win it. Well, this is the second time that Gary has had a leave similar to this one. Had it on the other side, too.
No, he's not going to like that wood. He almost has to cap it and try to turn it and push it straight back. Oh, comes off the wall for it.
Mark number 8 for Gary Carrington, all spares so far.
Working really hard for his marks at this point in time, too. He makes some terrific shots.
Neil is back on the head pin and mixing for a strike.
Unbelievable. Just keeps those pins in play. They just seem to do a lot of damage for him. The result is another strike.
Now over to lane 31, and there's a double. Well, with a 30-pin lead, and then you throw a double on top of it. That's making it difficult for your opponent.
Say that again.
Gary wasn't on the bench very long. Filling his spare, and he answers.
Well, he's just thinking, let me put a double strike up. You never know what Neil's going to do. If he was the punch on that strike, it would negate the whole thing. But Gary realized he has to put his own marks up. He can't worry about Neil now. Little full. Let's see. Will a 10-pin go? He's got another testy spare leave in the 4, 7, 10 double piece of wood in front of the 7 or in front of the 10.
2 pieces of wood collided and prevented the 10-pin from going over.
He's going to try to snap that wood. Got a shot at it. Not quite the way I thought it was going to go, but
it's a 9 on the strike. And a 10, 57 through 4, but we'll see how that stacks up after Neil fills this double strike. See, he's already at 20 in the first, plus this next ball. Neil has thrown 5 strikes already in this match. No wood now on the 3, 4, 6, and 7. No. And a 7 fill. So even with the double strike, 49 through 3, and he's only added 2 to the lead.
He better not let up.
No.
Gary's been on the head pin. He starts throwing a few strikes of his own.
Well, that's the ball Neil would have liked last frame on the double. Now he's shooting at a single 5-pin for the spare. And he's on it. Spare up in the fourth for Neil Gosselin. He continues to lead, and we've got 6 frames to go to decide this one. We'll be back. All right, Gary Carrington, 6 boxes to go.
And he may need a mark in just about every one of those. Again, he leaves that extra pin, this time the 7-pin. Good effort, just missing the 3-pin, cut it into the 7, but right now it's advantage Gosselin because there's one less box Gary has to put another mark up.
Wait, he gets what seems to be a good pocket hit and comes up with a very unusual and difficult leave, the 3, 7, 8, and 9, with wood all over the deck.
Yep. It's going to be on the 3-pin, and hopefully he's a little bit right or left of the 3 and can use some of that playable wood.
No. How many times has he been robbed by the 7-pin? So Neil steps up on a mark. And strikes again.
This time on the 1-2 pocket, just tripping the 6-pin. But another big 10-pin fill on the spare.
6 strikes for Neil Gosselin, maybe 7. Not this time. Spare, 89.5 with a spare up in the 6th.
He's on cruise control right now.
Well, you said don't let up.
Yeah.
He hasn't.
He's not. It's 5 marks out of 6 boxes this third game. Came in with a 30-pin lead. Well, Gary does finally get one of those corner pins to go down. This time he leaves himself the 2 and the 8 pins left and all kinds of lumber there.
Well, he'll probably get every break now.
Yes, that's right.
10 marks for Gary. Oh, and there's the strike on top of it.
Now, seemed to loft that one a little further out on the lane, which took a little bit off the ball, and he was able to hit the pocket. The others We're just coming a little full or a little light, not carrying the extra pin.
6 on a spare for Neil.
He's going to have himself a triple that's quite a bit over 400.
And those 2 pins will not count as Neil flipped the curtain back. So the best he can do here is an 8-box, and that's what it will be. 8-box in the 7th.
Ball has to hit something fair first. Deadwood or pin standing. Then anything can happen. Neil turned away from that one. Missed all the excitement.
I say the way things have been going for him, I wouldn't turn away from anything at this point.
1 in the 3. Piece of wood that may hurt him. Nope. You kidding, Dan? Come on. Nothing's hurting me today.
Mark number 18.
18 out of 28 boxes. Pretty tough. Pretty impressive by Neil Gosselin. He's already at 391 plus the bonus spot. Yeah.
This is on a strike for Gary. And the spare on top of it.
Too little, too late, I'm afraid, for Gary, though. Just couldn't get things in gear quick enough. On the other side of the ledger, Neil Gosselin was in gear the whole match.
Oh, do you believe it? Almost the same leave. Gets an extra pin this time. 7 fill.
He's going to have another pretty good triple, but in a losing effort.
That's 144 plus a ball, 382 plus a ball for Gary Carrington. And let's see how this turns out. It'll be a 7. A 151 game for Gary Carrington, a 3-string total of 389. But mathematically, it has already been settled. As Neil Gosselin has been sharp all day. Taking advantage of his breaks, he has thrown 6 strikes in the match, including a double. $10, 140. He's at 408 with $1 to go.
He's still talking to him. Still wants him to get down.
They've been listening.
He's already got the W.
And it's a spare.
Man, that's the kind of day he's had. Oh. Spare in the 10th for Neil. Ball comes back, nudges the wood. Final pin falls down for the spare.
Gary throws a 151. Neil's going to top him. 150 plus a ball. Add 7 more. 157 for Neil Gosselin in game 3, and a 3-game total of 425. Impressive performance for Neil Gosselin. He wins it, and we'll be back to chat with the bowlers and see if we can't have a winner in our bonus ball contest too in a minute. We're back on Stars and Strikes, and boy, oh boy, it was just one of those days for Neil Gosselin and for Gary Carrington, really. Everything Neil hit turned to gold, it seemed, and for Gary, it was somewhat the opposite.
It's one of those days. Gary, he bowled better than the score he bowled, but unfortunately, they didn't start falling for him until that third game, and it was a little too late then.
All right, we'll chat with both bowlers, and of course, we're going to try and give away some cash and some prizes here in our bonus ball contest. Let's have a round of applause first for Gary Carrington. And for Gary, we have a fifth prize check for $100. Gary, not the one you wanted, I know, but well, I'll tell you, there's nothing at all wrong with a 389 unless the guy you're bowling against has a 425.
Yeah, Neil bowled real good. I didn't bowl that good today. I didn't have nothing on my ball. Yeah, the only reason I had 389 in the last 4 boxes, and the match was over by then, really. So
it seemed, though, that you had a couple of hits that seemed like they should have been better than they were. First balls.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know the rotation on a ball or whatever, but they weren't knocking the pins down on the first ball. And Neil, he threw a bunch of strikes at me, and that's what you need.
Well, if we don't see you before then, we know we're going to see you in the doubles tournament of champions. But of course, there's still one more shot at this. So.
Okay, I'm going to be shooting for it, so maybe I'll be here.
All right, Gary. Thanks very much. Congratulations. And let's bring up Neil Gosselin now to see if we can get a bonus ball winner on lane 31. We have $40 in the jackpot, and we have couple of sets of brand new bowling balls on the line too from our friend Bob Perella in Paramount Industries in Medway, Mass. And let's see if a 7 is a winner this time. It is not for one of those names that I can't pronounce. I believe it's H.C. Tomasic or Tomachik from Auburn, New Hampshire. So H, unfortunately not a winner for you, but we'll be sending you a consolation gift as a token of your card being drawn here on the program. And step right in here, Neil. Don't be shy. 4 1/4. Can't be too unhappy with that.
I'm very happy with that. I threw a decent ball today. I bowled one of the best around, so you have to really pump it up when you bowl people like that.
Next week, Brian McKinley coming in. You bowled against Brian before?
No, but I know Brian very well. We're always in roll-offs, neck and neck, neck and neck.
Yeah, and the scores in this roll-off really were very close too.
Oh, very. Yeah, 690 to 670, so it was 20 within 5.
Well, we're going to settle it next week. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
All right, Neil Gosselin, the winner, with a 425. And here is the situation for next week now here on Stars and Strikes. It'll be Neil Gosselin, the number 4 seed, moving up to take on Brian McKinley. And don't forget also that coming up in just a few minutes, we have the first week of our brand new double series as well.
Yep, this should be interesting too. And it's good matches so far, and probably another one today.
All right, we'll see you in just a few minutes from the Londonderry Bowling Center. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, Doug Brown, so long, everybody.